Hey planties, welcome back to my channel, Houseplantpixie. For anyone that's new, my name is Monique. Welcome back to my existing subscribers. I hope you can understand me. I have difficulties connecting my microphone, but I try to speak louder and I'm not too far away from the camera, so hopefully the sound is okay. Let me know in the comments below if it's fine. Alright, Variegated Monsteras. Variegated Monsteras, I've waited so long because everyone knows how expensive they are, and I think about 8 years ago, I came to Australia about 13 years ago, and then shortly after, say like 10 years ago, I wanted one and I thought, holy no, I'm not paying that price for plant. And I didn't, because I thought surely the price will come down, and nothing happened. So I think about two and a half years ago, it must have been end of 2018, I thought, yep, I'll bite the bullet, I'll buy a couple of cuttings, see how they go, I'll propagate them and see how we go. Or if a plant comes up and it's not too expensive, I'll buy it. So, and that's what I end up with. Okay, well, this was let's start with the first cutting, right? My first cutting was an absolute nightmare, but I can tell you, things that take the longest and gives you the most grief are turning out to be the best ones. So the cutting had like a really big leaf. This is it. I see if I can find some photos that I'm gonna blend in while I'm talking about this guy. So the cutting had a massive leaf, it was quite short, so I propagated it in water, started rotting. So then I done my research and chopped it, did the cinnamon, let it callus form, so you let it dry out for a few hours, and then you put candle wax at the end, and that was fine. Then if the leaf falls off, don't freak out, that's normal. Means that the cutting is probably just putting a focus on producing roots, which happened to my cutting. It was difficult because I put it in moss and then I swapped back to water. When it didn't have the leaf, I had it in moss in a cookie container, so on the heat pad, so it had like a little greenhouse, and I think that worked pretty well. So then the first leaf come out and I thought, oh great, it has like tiny bit of variegation, yay. But then look, the second leaf, the stem had good variegation. The third one, yeah, it's unpredictable, but I'm so stoked with how she turned out. I just love it. Googly eyes. And this is the newest leaf. We won't touch that one. Yeah, let them unfurl. Don't help them. Right, this is leaning against the wall. That's why it doesn't have a pole. I don't mind if you have them leaning against the wall. Just be careful that the area roots will attach to your wall. So if you're in a rental, just be aware of it, and maybe give the plant a moss pole like this one has. So these two sitting under my LED shelf lighting, which has bright indirect light. With the watering, see they're in safe watering pots. So I check the reservoir. Once that's empty, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to water it again. Just the same old trick. Use your finger, put it into your second knuckle or third. Depends if you count the really top one. Yeah, maybe third. Some people say the second knuckle. It depends also if it's a smaller pot, yeah, second knuckle. If it's a big pot like this, just tested. Be sure, because if you overwater them, they will get browning, and once the white on the leaves starting to brown, there's nothing you can do. You can't. You can cosmetically trim it a little bit, which won't do any harm, which I done on this. So this one here was my second cutting, which come along really nicely. Okay, the first cutting, by the way, it took me 11 months till it had roots. So I knew, okay, something's going on here. About another 14 months until I had a bud. So don't give up. Don't get frustrated. I was messaging people, what do you think of this? Am I doing everything I can? And yeah, and it turned out alright. So yeah, it's lovely. You can always seek advice, or I'll just tell you right now, don't give up on it. Alright, that was the second cutting, and here that leaf had brown bits, and I just chopped them off, and that was fine. So then, look at this, the second leaf that formed. Cute, hey? And yeah, she's grown a little bit all over the place, but it's alright. The newest leaves are like half moon, which I'm super stoked about. I never thought that would happen. So people in Australia would know this. I would not recommend water with normal tap water. It has too much impurities in the water. I talked to other plant people from all over the world, and they say it's fine, I just use my tap water. If I was in Germany, I'd probably use the tap water too. It's quite, here in Australia, if you drink out of the tap, you would definitely taste well, you probably know what I mean anyway, if you're from Australia. Anyway, hot tip, don't use tap water. Use filtered water. It's not worth it. You ruin your, if you have one variegated monstera, some people say put your water in a bucket and let it sit. I wouldn't risk it. I would put it in a kettle, boil, and then let it cool down and then water the plant. That's different. But I just wouldn't use the tap water. It's not worth it. What else? As for any plant, the brighter and more indirect light you give them, the bigger and the more, what do I, dramatic, I would say, bigger they grow. So these two are on my shelf, which is, I put link in the description box below. I bought this, I think it had about 2 or 3 leaves when I first got it. I think it's an elbow Buxinnia. You can see that. I think the plant is mature enough to say that it's not a deliciosa. They have like, it's rippled on the neck here, which that one isn't. So I think it's safe to say it's a, this one is sitting in an east facing window. It's getting a little bit of morning sun, but the leaves are okay, so it's not getting burned. I broke this area root by accident. You can also, with the area roots, if you don't like them, just cut them. I like to just put them back in the pot so they have a bit of support. And then, so these guys have grown under my care, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 8 leaves. And this plant is, I'm just going to show you quickly. I bought it at Dan and Helen's, and it's just absolutely amazing. It was pretty big when I bought it, since it's been in my care spread out a bit because I have a west and an east facing window. So these two leaves, the top one is new and there is another one on the way. Amazing. So yeah, that's why it's grown outwards. I'm planning on putting it on a moss pole, but I really like to not disturb the plants. So as you could see, that pot, I bought this plant maybe a year and a half ago, and it's still in the original pot. So I haven't repotted it. It looked happy in the pot, and with monsteras they like to be snug in the pot. So yeah, probably another thing to talk about. When do you know that your plant is ready to be repotted or for another pot? It's not necessarily how big the plant is compared to, like, some plants are massive and have tiny root ball. It does happen. If you look at your pot and you look at the soil, and a good indication that your plant needs repotting is when the soil comes apart from the pot. Another one is if you start seeing roots on the surface, or if you have self-watering pot, hard to say, but if you have like the plant in a nursery pot and the roots coming out on the bottom on the drainage holes, which I just watered that not long ago. There's tiny, see that tiny root there? That's not, doesn't mean it needs repotting. If there's like a whole clump of roots that's coming out, then it needs repotting. So with the monsteras we covered, needs bright indirect light. We covered the watering. Don't water too often, don't underwater it. It's once you get the hang of it, you also feel it with time how heavy the pot is. Trust me, you do. Yeah, bright indirect light, the watering, use filtered water. What I haven't said yet is I started using this plant food. I haven't used slow release fertilizer. I'm a bit hesitant using fertilizer. I think I said it in the Cerestis mirabilis care video. I do believe if the plant has adequate lighting, right watering schedule, and the right humidity, you won't need fertilizer. Because fertilizer, be careful with your variegated monsteras when you fertilize. They can give you fertilized burn. You will see very quickly on the white parts of your variegated monstera, they will turn brown. I'm too scared to risk it. I've used some of the plant runner. I've used it a one-off thing because we're coming into autumn, then winter, and I've never fertilized during winter, which is autumn. Winter is the whole plant will slow down, we have less light, less photosynthesis, so keep that in mind. Same with buying cuttings. I highly advise you to not buy any variegated monstera cuttings in winter. You set yourself up for trouble. I won't necessarily say they won't root or you won't have success with them. It's just very, very hard. Again, yeah, stay away from cuttings, buy them in spring, then you have enough time. And yeah, that's about all I have to say. And the soil mixture, I use a mix of premium potting mix, Horticultural charcoal, Perlite and Orchid mix. I have a video which I can link in the description box below, or just have a look through where I mix it all together. Don't get too hung up on it on the ratios. It's going to be roughly. Some people messaged me, oh, does it have to be exact? In the video I show you it doesn't have to be spot on. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, and I'll see you next time. Bye!